Yes, the Nigeria of our dream, of course, that formed the thrust of our conversation here in the studio yesterday, where you had, of course, Elizabeth Agbaye. Of course, a lot of things were said about what we would love to see in Nigeria. But you know what people say about dream? You know, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dream. But let's take this background report from put together by Francis Obi, and after that, you get to meet our guest.
Across the globe, Nigeria is perceived as the natural leader of Africa. The world has placed its hope of Africa's freedom from stagnation, underdevelopment, illiteracy, hunger, and unemployment on Nigeria. The general belief is that if Nigeria should extricate herself from all these ills, she will free other African countries from the shackles.
My dream for Nigeria is very simple. I look up to that day when Nigerians will take Nigeria as their first, second, and third option for greatness. What has happened is that we quickly lost everything Nigeria had dear to itself. The country today has become a country where people see it as a country to take from, not to give. Nothing is given. The prayers, the wish of our heroes past have all been diminished.
My dream for Nigeria is to see a country where honey flows unlimitedly by Nigerians becoming more conscious of their independence. It's not the political independence that we are much concerned about, but the economic independence.
This is a country that has been confronted with several challenges since its birth, until this day still faced with numerous prevailing challenges that pose as hindrance to its desired growth and development. Notwithstanding, in building the Nigeria of our dream, everyone has a role to play.
We must, as youths, as owners of the economy, you and I, must make sure we do not vote people of questionable character. We should go deep down to ensure that Nigeria survives.
Local governments are created with the ultimate goal of bringing government closer to the people at the grassroots. But what happens when the people are disinterested with the happenings at the local government areas? Consequently, not all Nigerians know the names of their councillors. How do we build the local government areas of our dream?
We do not have a local government in Nigeria. Unfortunately and very sadly, local government is the third tier of government. And once that tier does not exist, the entire catastrophe you are seeing in the system will continue to be what it is, no change. We must allow the local government, which is the third tier of government, to operate. We are seated here. There's a law establishing the local government autonomy. But the powers that be, because the local government themselves are not proper local governments as it has to be, they are not operational. They are not there. We must revisit the entire three tiers of government: the federal, the state, and the local government. It's a must. Not to do that is not to begin. In fact, if we're not aligned the autonomy of the local government, then we may as well just go back to regional government.
I remain an advocate of the fact that powers should be devolved much more to the local government as the basic units of development, rather than lumping everything under the state government, which manipulates the local government to their whims and caprices. full autonomy, financial autonomy, management, as we had them pre-Independence Day. It is sad to see that a natural hazard or calamity will befall, will happen, and then you spend about 6 or more months for it to be rehabilitated. It is part of the problem that the local government administration, is facing in this country.
All through the ages, traditional rulers have continued to perform honorable roles in the good governance of a nation. However, some have argued that giving traditional rulers constitutional roles will go a long way towards building the Nigeria of our dream.
You have reminded me of the motion I raised almost 12 years ago in the Senate chambers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where I presented a motion, or raised a motion of public agency. And what was that agency? The agency was about the need to assign specific roles, responsibilities to the traditional institutions. Not because I'm a product of that institution as a prince, no. Because of my understanding and appreciation of the enormous roles and responsibilities that the traditional institutions bear, even on governance, present-day governance in Nigeria.
Very similar to what has happened to the local government. The traditional rulers have been disused. In fact, they exist by mere rhetorics. They've been dealt with. We must go back and give traditional rulers a constitutional role that allows them to participate in their economy, to participate in their natural resources, to participate in the security, to participate in employment, as it has to do with their local government, just as the colonial masters envisaged it. We're wasting our time. We must. They are part and parcel. And one of the greatest problems that has brought about this insecurity in the country is that the traditional rulers are no longer useful.
A great and prosperous Nigeria is possible. The time to start is now. Therefore, our focus on Weekend Deal today will be the Nigeria of our dream.
Indeed, the time is to start is now, and the time to start engaging our guest in the studio is definitely now. Welcome. Let's welcome Dr. Sirajo Yakubu. He's the HOD Public and International Law Department from Nile University of Nigeria. You're welcome to our studios, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you, Joseph.
Thank you.
You listen to that conversation, the background report. We talk about the, functional local government. You talk about the secure Nigeria. You talk about the role of traditional rulers in the constitution. Of course, this all have been said in order to have a better Nigeria that works for all. Now, talk to me about your thought when we say the Nigeria of your dream. Exactly what do you want to say?
Well, the Nigeria of my dream is a better Nigeria. Even though the term better Nigeria is vague, but I think it can be explained. In a simple term, what I mean is that a Nigeria that is safe and secure. Because we know that we are facing security challenges. These challenges did not start today. Actually, it was a build-up many years back. If you could remember when we were young, you hardly hear the sound of a gunshot in your own village. At that time, if you had people screaming at night, it's a thief. And once a victim screamed, then he took to his heel. Now it is completely different. So we want to see a secure Nigeria. It is only when Nigeria is secure that we have investments coming in and economic prosperity for our people. Secondly, what I mean a bit better Nigeria is that a Nigeria that is democratically stable for about 20 years or more. we have been having uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. This is a great achievement, and we have to give credit to the political actors, not only the politicians, but even the civil society organizations, including those who are leading support organizations for the politicians. Let's say, for example, like the Atiku support group, like the Tinubu support group led by Honorable Aminu Suleiman, who is actually doing very well in that respect to deepen our own democracy. Then
and also the other political parties,
and the other political parties also,
like,
like
Labour Party,
like the Labour Party, the
NNPP.
NNPP, exactly. Again, when I say better Nigeria, I mean a Nigeria that is economically resilient, that the economy is doing well. We know that all over the world, countries are facing economic downturn. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria
alone.
But of course, I want to see a Nigeria that is economically vibrant.
Now, you at some point in your life worked in the local government setup, and of course, I'm sure it's not what you see now. What you had then is a sharp contrast to what is being experienced now in terms of governance. Talk to me about the experiences then and now.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, before I talk about my experiences in the local government, permit me to exhaust my points, because again, there are two fundamental points. When I say better Nigeria, I mean an industrialized Nigeria, because
permission is given.
Yes, thank you. Because it is only when a nation is industrialized that we will be able to at least provide jobs for the teeming youth. Nigeria is getting populated day in, day out, and Nigerians are getting educated by the day, but they don't have jobs. So we need an industrialized Nigeria, and that's one of the things. And then lastly, and most importantly, is a Nigeria with a stable, developed and stable public education system. Because you can see that our public education system is going down the drain. The last thing that we are having, that public people generally have hope in, that the university system, the protracted strikes is actually undermining it. So that's what I mean by a better Nigeria. Coming to the issue of the
local governments.
Yeah, you know, local governments is a system. Well, say in Nigeria, under our constitution, we have 3 tiers of government: the federal, the state, and the local government. And each and every one is integral part of the government of Nigerian system. So each and everyone is very important, and most important, I think, among them, in terms of so many things like this, peace and security within the locality, within the community, is the local government system, because it is the local government that is much closer to the people.
Just as we were wrapping up your thought on the last issue of local government, it was tilting towards corruption. And of course, we have several institutions established to fight corruption in Nigeria. And I know you have written copious, articles on different journals about financial crime, economic crime, and all of that. Now, we have seen cases where, instances where the EFCC, ICPC have gotten, what is the word now? I've gotten, okay, what is that in the judgment in their favor when you talk about some of these cases they've taken to the court. But compared to the number of cases that are there and they're struggling with it, the number of cases they've won, you cannot compare it with the ones they've lost and the ones that are still there. Is it that the institutions are not doing their due diligence before cases are being taken to court?
Well, it could be possible, but actually there are 2 things that's supposed to guide prosecutors when deciding whether to prosecute a case or not. One, whether there are enough evidence to secure conviction. Number 1. Do we have that evidence? Number 2, whether it is in the public interest to prosecute the case. You see, the second limb is always there when it comes to corruption, that there's always the public interest or even overriding public interest to fight corruption, so to prosecute the case. But the problem comes with lack of evidence. Because if you, the Nigerian system is one that our law enforcement usually jump into arrest and prosecute and arrest them before investigation. If you take UK, for example, or the United States, they always investigate underground. You not know that you are being investigated. You are right to say, I know you must have investigated me deeply, that to that I have written articles on that. In fact, my PhD is on anti-money laundering with regard to the US and the UK. So even during that time, my research shows that in those countries, they really investigate. They do an investigation before arrest. So it makes it easier for them to secure conviction. Usually, Nigeria, the reverse is the case. So if, I think the our own law enforcement should learn from that. But then, you know, I mean, success in the court is not the only measure of whether the agencies are succeeding or not. Because they are, we should also know that the fact that they are doing their work, they are after the corrupt people, that alone serves as a detriment to others. It's not everybody, only the bold ones, only those that can take the risk.
And some will tell you that if we have this, if we are aware of if we are conscious of our civic responsibility to this beautiful nation, issues like corruption will not, you know, be and will not come on board. But let's just take this next report put together by Ayuba Tete and the Borders on civic responsibilities towards building the Nigeria of our dream, and after that we engage our guest further.
Every country is made up of citizens, and every citizen has a role to play in order for a country to thrive, and Nigeria is no exception. Some of these civic duties include loyalty and respect for the national flag, the national symbols, and national officials, voting during elections, care for public property, just to name a few.
The idea about a country is that a country is not something that is separate from the citizens in the country. It's actually the citizens that make up this country. And so the quality of country we'll have is dependent on the quality of citizens that are existing in that country. So we can't separate what we do from how the country, you know, results in or becomes. So what we do every day makes up what this whole country, Nigeria, is going to be at the end of the day. Anybody who is talking about this country is bad, can you look back into yourself and ask yourself, what are your responsibilities in your own sphere of influence? In the place that you exist in, have you done everything that you're expecting some other person to do? Have you taken responsibility for your compound, for even the room that you stay in? So I tell my children, I tell them, this house is not going to be clean if all of us keep our rooms dirty. We can't call the house clean.
A great majority of the populace are quick to blame the lack of orderliness and adherence to rules and regulations to poor leadership, neglecting the glaring fact that we are in a democracy, meaning that the leaders are a direct reflection of the citizens.
Yes, I know. They say everything rises and falls on leadership. But the responsibility to even choose the leaders that lead you is on the citizens. Thankfully, we are in a democracy where we are expected to vote in the people that lead us. And so, if you say there's someone leading you that is not doing the right thing, you are the one that put him there. So we all need to have our sense of responsibility, sense of that this whole organism called Nigeria, we are a cell in it. We are a part of it. And what we do in our little spaces has a contribution to what the country is at the end of the day.
Another fact is how the citizens look at certain laws and regulations as just a way of controlling them. ignoring the bad example being set for the younger generation and also the direct repercussions of violating these laws.
We need to be conscious about keeping our environment clean. We need to be conscious about complying to all the laws and all the rules. Let's talk about things like, okay, you have some payments to make, taxes to pay, and you say because you can't see what the government is doing, do your own part. What they do with the tax is not your concern, but on your own part, you do it. We know what is right, we know what is wrong. Things like traffic rules need to be kept. To me, I feel like if I run this red light, not just that I might be in danger of an accident, if someone sees you violating that law, what it tells the person is that it doesn't matter. We need to really be careful about holding on to those values, holding on to the laws and the standards and keeping them, because it makes for a better society. No matter how annoyed you might be about things, don't be part of it. Two wrongs don't make a right. So let's not be part of the problem. Let's just tell ourselves that even though it's difficult, even though it's hard to walk against the flow, the more we stand for what is right, the more people will join.
Civic responsibilities have been set up so that every member of the society is involved in the grand scheme of building a greater nation. So, it is an act of self-harm if these responsibilities are ignored, disrespected, or disregarded.
Well, two wrongs definitely don't make a right, and civic responsibility, it should be something that comes to us naturally. Now, Doctor, from civic responsibility, I know you are consultant for the Malian government and on the issue of corruption, and then you say that if we take our civic responsibility seriously, we're not going to, be experiencing a lot of challenges we are confronted with in Nigeria today. As we wrap up this session with you, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I think forward, each and every citizen in this country has a civic duty to make Nigeria great, to make Nigeria function. You see, what we need to do is to have ownership. Each and every person must see Nigeria as his own property that he should guard jealously, not as a property for him to do whatever he wants to do with it. Because now, if you have a vehicle, for example, it is your own asset, you take it into the garage or take it into a compound, lock it, even maybe put a padlock on the that lock the wheel and the pedal. You even lock your gate in order to secure it. So if we take the ownership of Nigeria, we feel that Nigeria is own and protect it and protect its interests as if it is your own personal property, I think we will see a great Nigeria. It is because people don't take ownership of Nigeria. That's why some people, when they are saddled with the position of trust, they betray that trust by stealing public funds. And people should realize, Nigerians should realize, one act of corruption can cause serious damage, even to the person who has stolen the money. For example, now, somebody in the Ministry of Education stealing the money, or even anywhere, stealing the money meant for, let's say, education.
Yeah.
Then the secondary and university system are undermined, cannot function well. He will have to find an alternative for his own children. So you can see that even the money that he has stolen, despite that it's not his own and he's going to account for it either here or in the hereafter, he will still use that money to fund his children education elsewhere. Or if it is money meant for our healthcare system, still he may need that money to go elsewhere. So if we like I said, take our civic duties seriously, for example, shun corruption or expose corruption, we are going to help ourselves. Because before now, even in the villages, they have dispensaries. And that dispensary, when we were young, I could remember, in dispensary, in a village, a diabetic patient can get his urine tested.
Wow.
Yes, but now, we have to even pay for it, you know. So
Wow.
it is because we don't take Nigeria as our own.
Okay.
But if we change our attitude, we have to change our own attitude. We have to change our own attitude to see Nigeria as our only country, so that we do everything we can to
Make it better.
And I want to remind Nigerians of the national anthem we always sing and the Nigerian pledge.
Yeah.
You see, we always pledge to the country that we will make it better. We will serve it better. Yes.
So I hope that a lot of people will begin to internalize this and practice it. That is exactly what we want to see in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Dr. Siraja Yakubu, for speaking to this issue. And on a lighter note, you're from which local government, Katsina State?
Batagarawa local government.
Okay, from today, I am your traditional title holder because of the fact that I'm from a Nupe land.
From Nupe land. They don't know, but you know the tradition. I don't have the power.
Definitely, it doesn't matter. At least by the virtue of the fact that I am a Nupe man, I am naturally, you know, your leader. So let's keep it at that. Right now, let's take the role of traditional rulers in talking about the Nigeria of our dream. This is coming from NTA Maiduguri.
Ni dai zan rike iya gwargwadon karfi na inda zan yi a rike jama'a din.
I will try my best as the Bulama to fulfill my duties and safeguarding my people. And I advise my subjects not to allow any stranger to cause disunity amongst them.
Inda za ku shi ku hana shi zama a cikin ku.
Every society has its cultural norms and values. However, the advent of modernization and globalization has not completely erased some of these values, one of which in Nigeria is traditional institution. Traditional leaders have long held positive roles, observed in their skills to lead communities, manage issues, preserving and promoting culture and tradition.
The traditional leadership is a leadership that is always thinking of how to provide and how to take care of their communities and their people. It's not about interest. It's not about what they are going to get from whatever they are providing as leadership. No, all that they expected from the government and from the people is for them to be accorded much respect. So therefore, the nation, as it now, needed them more than even before.
The traditional institution is pari passu the representative of our cultural preeminence. It is the traditional institution that actually controls who we are. They are a repository of knowledge of our culture and our tradition. Therefore, the pride of a man should be in his culture. And traditional institutions are part and parcel. In fact, they are commanding heights of our culture because they represent traditional authority. They represent our roots, our connection, the essence of who we are.
Traditional leaders are instruments to nation building. Their advice and opinions are respected and accepted.
The traditional rulers play a major role. So for instance, if that's where one is being stubborn, then the traditional knows how to punish that person before going to the state level. The tradition has a way of dealing with them, which they are more afraid of. It is at this level we'll catch them young by educating them. The intrigues, the tax, the laws, all that involved, which have narrowed it down to their level. Because most of them might not be educated enough to know the do's and don'ts that in governance. But through the local level, traditional rulers, this message could pass to them efficiently the way they can understand.
Their sideline constitutionally means that they are to depend on local government for resources that will make them to discharge their responsibilities. My advice is to restore the role of traditional institutions into the constitutional framework of Nigeria because they know their people. Throughout the history of insurgency, over 12 years now, traditional leaders are not considered. They are only considered when you are administering folio, imposing coronavirus restriction, when you are trying to elect. This is why they are relevant, and it's not proper for us to have peace
For us to connect the community with the state, you must empower traditional institutions. The traditional institution in tandem would work with local government. If this is done, then the federal government should improve the revenue source of the local government. Allow the local government to collect the tax. Allow the traditional rulers to collect their tax. And then people who pay tax will now respect the authority of these traditional rulers.
The role of traditional leaders is still very relevant to modern-day society in order to promote stability and aid sustainable nation development.
The debate is actually ongoing about the role the traditional rulers should play, if they should have the constitutional rule in the society. But whatever the case, we all can agree with the fact that they have been an integral part of what we have now as Nigeria. And we have been talking about the Nigeria of our dream. We have looked at different sectors of the economy. And of course, right now, we want to take this next report coming from Lagos, talking about the local government system of our dream. Let's take this.
Role of the local government in the political, economic, and overall development of the country cannot be overemphasized. This ranges from preschools, transportation, town planning, waste collection, and public health. Local government constitute the most critical aspect of government as they are created to bring development closer to the people at the grassroots. Unfortunately, local government in Nigeria has been subject to the whims of the federal and state governments.
There is a difference between the role of a legislator and the role of an executive head. The basic role that is required from a legislator is to make law. Be a councillor, be a House of Assembly member, be a rep member, be a senator. And the only way the impact they can feel is through lawmaking, and it cannot be seen. But you can facilitate projects. Like in my community, when the governor said we should bring projects, I nominated the streets, your daily street. The street is beyond the cost of Lagos State, so they did 1/3 of the streets, and they said when you are going to nominate again, we will finish it up. I also facilitated a project, a transformer with Abuja junction. I facilitated it to my ward. I also facilitated an NGO building a building for students after school where they can learn a bit of craft work to make their life meaningful. And I did not once, not twice, health programs for my community. Those are the impactful things they can see. But a councillor cannot do road. They can only facilitate road.
The overall intentions of local government establishment has been thwarted due to political interferences, poor funding, bribery, and corruption, amongst others. This has made it impossible for the people to be involved in governance at the grassroots level, and therefore do not feel the impact of their leaders.
For me, I actually belong to Ikorodu local government CDA. I really don't know them by name. That's the truth. I don't know them so well. But when I see their picture, I can identify with them.
An elected public servant, a councillor, a council chairman, House of Assembly member, these are people that have to relate to the people. So there's no basis for me to be saying that because of this, even if they are demanding from you, the person that demand from you on Monday cannot come and meet you on Tuesday, cannot come and meet you on Wednesday. You get it? It's going to reduce your expenses if you get closer to them. Some of them do not even need money. Some of them don't need recognition. I want to go and meet my House of Assembly member. I want to go and meet my councillor. Our councillor, this is our councillor that is coming. Some of them even want you to come and sit and dine and wine with them. So it is not basically money, but relationship matters, because if you distance yourself from them, a day of reckoning will come when they will surely ask from you.
So the question is, what is our dream of a better local government system, and how do we make our local government more responsive?
To a large extent. And again, for students going to school, I've often heard them talk about notebook, talk about biro, talk about pencil that is being given to them by the local government chairman. So I think at the grassroots, they're trying. But of course, to whom much is given, much is expected.
I have a dream. I have a dream for this local government. And I believe the people that are there, they are laying the foundation already. All what we need is people that will be coming on board after these people, or people that will be taking over when they are no more in the position, should please build on what they've put down. Let's build on what others have been doing right. And those ones we know that is not well fixed, let's fix them. And it will be comfortable for everybody to live in.
The only way we can have a sound local government is that let them delist it from the constitution. If Lagos State can have 100 local governments, so be it. In the last 20-something years now, we have been having 37 LCD and they have been functioning like what we are now, Yaba LCDA. It's not even in the constitution. But we have councillors, we have council chairman, we have council manager, we have city, they are functioning. The basic thing that we need to do is to enhance all this together and encourage the process of local government to be under the state administration, and it should be exclusive the interest of the state so that everybody will develop at their own pace.
Obviously, when the federal and state government are constitutionally allowed to interfere with the activities of the local government, it will limit the effectiveness of the local governments.
Well, an interesting report there. And let's quickly introduce our second guest here in the studio. He's a journalist, a publisher, a businessman, and a motivational speaker. He's also the CEO and publisher of Ovation International. Presently, he is the director of strategic communications at Atiku Okowa Presidential Campaign Organization, Chief Dele Momodu. You are welcome to our studios.
Good morning. It's good to be back here again.
And for us in this, part of the world, we often refer to him as Uncle D or Bob D.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. You saw that report on the performance of local government, talking about vis-a-vis the Nigeria of our dream. Now, I know at some point the president granted an interview and he said something very, critical, whereby you see the governors or the authorities that be will give the local government chairman a particular, form to sign, indicating that they are taking this amount of money, but what is given to them finally is not up to what they are signed. That is just to, show some of this inadequacies going on in the local government areas. Now, how disappointed are you when we talk about building a Nigerian of our dream?
I'm very disappointed because the whole essence of having the local government authorities is simply to decentralize governance, to ensure that you spread the manure and the dividends of democracy to the grassroots. But today, many of the governors, if not all, are quite dictatorial about it. They want to control the local government. They want to control the legislature. That is why now we change our speakers, deputy speaker. Anybody who does not agree with them would have to go. So the local government is supposed to be the closest to the common man. But unfortunately, they have little or nothing to show for it. And you will see that in the last few days, our candidate, Atiku Abubakar GCON, has been talking a lot about it, that we will have to enforce the requirement that says we have the federal government, you have the state government, and you have the local government. But it's like we have completely exterminated the local government out of our system.
Well, I'm just wondering how easy it will be for him to, actualize that, given the fact that this government has actually tried, to do that, but they face stunt, rejection or objection from the state governors.
You see, if you have a president who is well respected, who knows his onions, who understands the system, he will know how to reach out to every arm of government in Nigeria. You see, but once a leader, you are just a seat warmer. You want to sit down and just, it's none of my business. You see, all of us must work together, from the local government to the state government to the federal government. Once you have a leader who they know is serious, trust me, people will follow him. It's like disciples. Your disciple, if they see that you are not interested, or you yourself, you are misbehaving in government, then they will emulate you. So, but we have a candidate who knows Nigeria inside out.
Well,
and he understands the system because he's been in that system. And he knows that for Nigeria to move forward, there are certain tough decisions you must take. He is one man I know who is not afraid to take such a decision. These days, you will see that people are beginning to have more confidence in our judiciary. So that is why you have the different arms of government. The judiciary would have to intervene. And trust me, once you have a disciplined judiciary that cannot be compromised, a lot of these things will change. And again, if you look at the trajectory of Atiku Abubakar, you will know he's a man who believes in the rule of law. He allows the court processes to stand. So that's key. You must have a leader who will follow the rule of law and will enforce it. It's about crime and punishment. If people know that they will be taken to court and the court would enforce that what belongs to Caesar must be given to Caesar, a lot of these things will disappear. But today, I mean, you have so many people who are lords unto themselves. And so the best way to treat a wound is to apply the medicine. And the medicine is simple. I am a northern Muslim. I am a presidential candidate. Then go and look for a running mate in the south.
But are you not contradicting yourself? That,
no.
You know, you don't mind. It's about competency.
I say,
have
yes,
Muslim,
competency
Christian.
with, I say competency with sensitivity. You have to be sensitive. Once you know that the times have changed, things do change. Once upon a time, nobody cared, but now people care.
All right, interesting. Now, let's just take this next report from NTA Abuja. I'm sure we'll come back to have this conversation further. And this one is on grassroots development, which is or should be everybody's business.
In Nigeria's democratic society, the establishment of local authorities in municipalities and regional districts is key in driving and implementing national economic growth through strategic grassroots development within their respective jurisdictions. However, the gap in between the role of local authorities and their visible impact on the society seems to widen. Situated in the heart of Abuja, the nation's capital territory, lies the urban district of Gariki, where key business and government establishments in Nigeria are concentrated. Gariki village, a 3-minute drive from the city center, is considered one of the most neglected slums in the country. Among other local districts in the capital that seem to suffer equal neglect from relevant local authorities are Local Goma, Life Camp and several others, leaving many concerned about the future of these regions as a part of the nation's capital territory.
You will be in this Abuja just few minutes from the central area. You will see people living in mess. No roads, no water, no road network, no planning. For example, area councils supposed to have road maintenance department. Apart from having the works department, there are supposed to be a unit for road maintenance. But nothing like that is done. If you go to places like Garki village is even in the central area here. That area is even a slum in the city. How big is even Garki village? If you see the markets, it's something else. If you go to Gwagwalada, for example, almost 60% of our roads are now collapsing because of one major road have been neglected and ignored, which is between Gwagwalada Market, FRCN, Radio House, Kutunku, and Jeremiah Oseni Road. And you go to Shere, and you go to Jabi, and all those places I'm calling Mabuchi are in central area here. 60% of SCT residents doesn't have electricity connection. Not serve. You know, when they say serve and there's no light, it's different. They don't even have the connections. It's only, you will see light in Gwagwalada Central, you will see light in Kwali Central, you will see light in Kuje Central, you will see light in Uye Central, you will see light in Wuse Central. Go to the inside, there is nothing. No light, no water, no road, nothing. And it's contributing to criminalities. It's contributing to congestion of the city. It's contributing to pressure on the roads, pressure on water. I want you to know that the allocation given to local governments are not even enough. They are giving them small allocation just because they know they are hungry. They only need salaries to survive. It's not about infrastructure.
Anybody that knows FCT back years ago, as of 2006, 2005, definitely you understand that we are going backward. We have various chairmen of various area councils, of which supposed to take care of each and every of the area councils. But by the time you get yourself to the area council, you even shed tears. There's nothing to write home about. When you come to FCT in the night, even driving along Maitama axis, you can't believe that you are in FCT.
The views held by many are thought-provoking and worthy of critical consideration, thrusting upon government establishments with a greater burden to apply more drastic approaches to the maintenance and preservation of these communal infrastructures.
The only way to change this narrative is the people to wake up to and let the whole world knows that they are not living good. They should not just keep quiet, feeling okay, and believing somebody they love as a leader will come one day for them. He will not come. And we have House of Rep members, the one from Abuja North and Abuja South. What are they actually representing? You media also have a tax. We cannot just be talking on a studio. You should do investigative journalism, where I have pointed some areas in FCT that have been neglected for years. FCT is for everybody, which is where one Nigeria here.
Collective growth through grassroots development is a goal every ideal nation must strive for, with local authorities spearheading active infrastructural and communal restructuring.
All right, we still have our guest here with us. We often refer to him as Uncle D. You are still, thank you for still being with us. Now, you saw that report, and then that's the FCT, and then a lot of people would actually want to see this replicated in the local government areas, which is very critical. But it's like sometimes we concentrate too much on the politics at the center. We really pay attention to those who will become councillors, those who will become the chairman, you know, those who will become the House of Assembly members and all of that. What do we really need to do to change this narrative?
It is because the federal government is extremely powerful. I always say that we have the most powerful president on earth. Nobody can challenge him. But where you have a leader who has managed people and resources in his private capacity, he knows that you have to decentralize, you have to delegate power. I'd like to give the example of the Atiku campaign organization. When I came in, our principal insisted everybody, because he has some of the most fantastic teams that you can find anywhere in the world, brought them together and said we must all work as a team.
And you are very active on social media. You have a huge followership. And then if you look at that space, it's supposed to be a marketplace for ideas and all of that. But today...
It's a marketplace for cyberbullying.
And now it's like almost everybody, you're just looking for an opportunity to tweet or, you know, say something negative about Nigeria. Why always do people celebrate the negativity of this country? They talk more about the negative aspect than the positive. And for some people, you see them, you know, to market their nation, to celebrate, you know, but now they manipulate the media content in that space.
No, they will tell you every successful man is a rogue, is a thief. I don't know where that narrative came from. When we started Ovation 26 years ago, people told me it cannot survive. I said, why? And they said, because we don't publish bad stories. But we proved them wrong. We publish positive stories about Africans. Africans who are doing well, but will not be allowed to appear on the cover of Hello magazine, OK, and all that. What sells on social media is bad news. Oh yes, they love it. And people also love to read bad news. But we must make a deliberate, intentional attempt at ensuring that we promote the best. Anytime someone tries to bully me on social media, I don't care. Abuse my father, abuse my mother, I will still educate you on what you don't know, and I will say mine. Because in a democracy, everybody must have a voice. Yeah, it's by choice. So I'm supporting a candidate. You don't like the candidate? No problem. I love your own candidate. Go and work for your candidate. But you will see that today, if care is not taken, people are going to be bullied into silence, where democracy then becomes irrelevant.
And I also know something about bullying and the fact that it, leads to some health challenges. And of course, talking about health, let's look at this next report put together by Diola, and it talks about the health sector of our dream.
The last 6 decades have seen numerous health policies and developmental plans in Nigeria, culminating in the National Health Act of 2014. The Act provides for a range of responsibilities, instruments and institutions covering the health sector, yet Nigerians are still yearning for good health system.
We have a lot of very wonderful policies in Nigeria in terms of health financing, programming. And when you want to roll out things, first you look at the leadership, the governance, the service delivery, and then you look at finance, and then of course, how do we monitor and evaluate what we're doing. In all of that, you will say the federal government has taken a lot of leadership. Now, where the problem is at the level of governance.
The Nigerian health system is weak and has been evolving over the years with focus on inputs rather than outputs. The design and adoption of several policies have contributed little to strengthening the health system in Nigeria, with no health insurance coverage to larger population of the citizens.
I see a factor whereby the local government can actually issue what we call local government health insurance scheme, so that when we have the national health insurance scheme, most especially you find the federal health civil servant actually assessing that. Then we now also have a state health insurance scheme, which we know that most people within the state and the rest can say. But when we now have the local government health insurance scheme, all interposed into the state health insurance scheme, that will help a lot, because the local government is very, very, very important. They are the closest to the people.
The FCT health insurance has approved that 13,500 naira should be the health cover of one individual per year. In other words, if you pay 13,500 naira a year, you will be able to cover your health needs for the entire year, up and including cesarean section for women, and then also appendectomy if you have appendicitis. You won't pay a penny. Only about 150,000 people in our FCT are enrolled.
Beside the obvious medical tourism that Nigerians do abroad, Nigeria is also faced with health workforce crisis with no end in sight, because many of the country's well-trained doctors, nurses and other health practitioners are jetting out of the country every day.
If we improve our healthcare through proper financing, then doctors and nurses will be properly paid. Resources to buy equipment, to do proper health advocacy, to do proper research, to do proper quality of care related issues will happen. And that way, a lot of Nigerians will not want to leave.
When we talk about some of these top hospitals in Lagos, I don't want to mention them, but they are attracting a lot because of the equipment that they have. Therefore, monies from what we call revitalization and also capital support from CBN can also be given to them so that they can access loans and the rest. I can let you know that sometimes when you have specialists can actually come together and produce what we call group practice. This group practice, which we have experts of various specialties, can now make and attract a lot of people to come in. But their problem is that there is no finance.
While some modest gains have been recorded in the Nigerian health sector since 1960, maternal and child mortality rate is still high. Immunization coverage, access to basic health services and life expectancy remain poor. Hence, Nigeria needs to strengthen its health system with enhancement of universal health care with proper financing and coverage backed by strong laws.
All right, that's the health sector of our dream report put together by Dayo La there. Now, you saw the report, and then today we talk about medical tourism, we talk about brain drain and all of that. Now, what do we need to do differently to get it right in the health sector?
There are different things. One is that we have to upgrade our facilities. You can't do it all at once, but what other countries do, if you go to Accra, which I'm very familiar with, under John Mahama, he was able to upgrade some hospitals, build a new teaching hospitals complex, and ensure they meet international standards. Two, we must have health insurance. In Britain, where I was in exile for years, we have what they call NHS, and it affords the ordinary man and even the rich the opportunity to go to hospital at any time, and then you'll be treated and you don't have to pay money.
Now, a lot of people are wondering if truly you are a unifier and you want to unify Nigeria. Of course, unity is it's a huge thing now. It's a big deal for Nigeria now. How come he's not able to unify his own political party, given the faction, the issues with Wike and other governors?
I don't know of any party today that does not have its own crisis. I don't know if you know of any, tell me. Be it APC, where their campaign is yet to take off. Be it Labour Party, where just a few days ago, some young people kicked about the inclusion of those they didn't want in their campaign council. There will always be, that's what democracy is all about. There will always be people who will not agree to certain things. But do majority of the people agree? In PDP, the answer is yes. We are the only political party today in Nigeria that has moved on. Tomorrow, we are in Kaduna for a rally. By next weekend, we are in Edo State for a rally. We are engaging the media. We are engaging community leaders. We are engaging religious leaders. What more do you want? Yes, there are people who are not happy about the outcome of our presidential primary. I participated in it. But in life, you cannot have it all. And if people appeal to you and continue to appeal to you, what I would expect is that someday, maybe you will listen to one of the appeals. That's all. We've made up our minds, and we've decided we're going to run issue-based campaign.
Well, I'm sure that is exactly what other political parties are saying, running issue-based campaign, which is exactly what we all want as Nigerians. Thank you very much, Chief Dele Momodu, for speaking to us on this critical issue of, concerning Nigeria of our dream. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
And talking about the Nigeria of our dream, we know that it doesn't come cheap. We have to sweat, we have to work hard, we have to be dedicated to ensuring that that dream come to reality. Most especially as we approach the 2023 general elections. As Nigerians, we must do our due diligence to ensuring that we have peaceful elections. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Suleiman Babojia Usman. Next week, certainly we'll be looking at something else. Join us then. Bye for now.